All right. Start off by saying Shalom. All praises to the Most High. Uh, Tonight's lesson will be called True Religion. Tonight's lesson will be called True Religion. All right. We all know that there's many religions in this world. Tons. So many that we cannot keep up with them. And all of them are man-made. So since all of these religions are man-made, that means the God that these religions are following are false gods. So everybody thinks they have the correct religion. Everybody thinks they have the correct God. So now we have a world full of confusion. A big pot of confusion is what you can call it. But that was the reasoning, though. That was the plan of man. Man made this plan to bring in all these different religions and all these different sections in different areas to make people think that their God is the right God and the next person's God is the wrong God. So now you got more of a fight and an argument than people uniting and coming together. So tonight I wanted to go into if you did have to claim a religion according to the scriptures, what is it? Because I know here in Israel, once we woke up to the truth and the way we teach and the way we talk about it, and people ask us when we start talking about the Bible, well, what religion are you? And we tell people, well, I'm not part of a religion. I just follow the Bible. And then people be looking at you like, no, you got to follow something. There's got to be a religion behind it, because people have been taught that you have to be in some type of religion to follow the Most High. But if you did have to follow a religion, what is it? According to the scriptures. And that's what we're going to break down tonight. So now, as Hebrew Israelites, you go out and people say, well, what's your religion? What is it you follow? You can tell them, because I'm going to tell you tonight what you are and what you should be claiming. And honestly, you cannot say this is not your religion, because I'm going to show you how it is. All right? So that's why tonight's lesson is called True Religion. The one true religion that's out there that's not being talked about. The one true religion that the Bible breaks down clearly in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And no one's talking about it. So that's what we're going to break down tonight. All right. And we're going to take our time with it so everybody can get a clear-cut understanding. All right. Let's start off and actually, know what, I'm going to give you a couple definitions. I'm going to give you a couple of definitions. I'm going to give you the definition for religion first. The word religion in the Webster means, this word seems original to have signified an oath or vow to the gods. The word religion in the Webster means, this word seems original to have signified an oath or vow to the gods. So the word religion means someone who makes an oath or vow to the gods. Gods, not God, gods. So it lets you know that religion, there's so many different ones. These religions are things that people are making vows to their gods. Let's break down the word vow. Vow. A promise made to God or by a pagan to his deity. Vow, a promise made to God or by a pagan to his deity. So a vow is someone that makes a promise to the Most High, or it says right here, or by a pagan to his deity, to his God. So it tells you that the pagans, they made promises to their deities. The pagans made vows to their gods. So now that we know the pagans made vows to their gods, in their days, in their times, we still have pagans. We still have heathens, we still have pagans. So guess what? That is still happening. People are still making vows to these pagan deities. It didn't stop. It's still going on. And that's what we have in these religions. So when you break down all these religions and all these gods, these are people making vows to these pagan deities. And no one's taught them no better. No one's taught them no different. They don't know no better. Okay? But this is why we do the teachings, to show what it is that's true and what it is that's false. It's facts. So let's get to it. Go to Google and put in language of the Bible. Go to Google and put in language of the Bible. And go down to where it says Biblical Languages, Wikipedia. Biblical Languages, Wikipedia. And it reads, biblical languages are any of the languages employed in the original writings of the Bible. So right here it tells you, biblical languages are any of the languages employed in the original writings of the Bible. So it's telling you right now what we're about to talk about is the original language in the original writings of the first Bible, partially owing to the significance of the Bible in society. Biblical languages are studied more widely than many other dead languages. Furthermore, some debates exist as to which language is the original language of these passages, is what it said, of a particular passage. So people are debating on what language is the right language. That's what people are debating. That's what we have today. When you start trying to talk to people, it's a debate. And about whether a term has been properly translated from an ancient language into modern editions of the Bible. So it tells you right here, you got people spending more time debating on the language of the Bible and debating on the translation of the Bible. So that's why when we break things down in the Strong Concordance, and then we try to go show somebody, look, this is a different translation from what you're seeing it in versus what the translation of the language of the Bible says it is. That's the debate. Everybody's debating what language the Bible is written in, and then everybody's debating the translation of the language that's being used. All right, so let me finish reading. We are in biblical languages in Google and Wikipedia, and it says, and about whether a term has been properly translated from an ancient language into modern editions of the Bible. Scholars generally recognize three languages as original biblical languages. And there's those three languages is Hebrew, Aramaic, and Koine Greek. Koine Greek. Koine Greek. So Hebrew, Aramaic, and Koine Greek. So these three languages were the original languages of the Bible. That's what we just break it down right here in Google. This ain't what I wrote. This is in Google. Google is telling you that the original three languages of the Bible is Hebrew, Aramaic, and Koine Greek. All right? And between these three languages, you got a big debate when you start trying to translate the Bible into Hebrew for people. And this is where the debate comes in there, because people want to read it in English. But when you start to tell people, no, the Bible is written in Hebrew, and let me break these words down in Hebrew for you so you can get a better understanding, the debate kicks in. They don't understand it. But this is why I'm showing people right now, tonight, that the original Bible was written in Hebrew. All right? So Hebrew was the language of the Bible. Stay in Google and put in gods. Just put in the word gods, G-O-D-S, and go to Wikipedia where it says God Wikipedia. So let's confirm what we just read, that the original language in the Bible was Hebrew. Let's confirm it. So go to Google, put in gods, and then go down where it says God Wikipedia. And it says, there are many names for God. No, it ain't, but this is what the world teaches in these religions. All these different religions, he has different names. And different names are attached to different cultural ideas about God's identity and attributes. In the ancient Egyptian era of atheism, possibly the earliest recorded monotheistic religion, this deity was called Aten, premised on being the one true supreme being and creator of the universe. In the Hebrew Bible, so it tells you right here, the very first thing it tells you right here in the Hebrew Bible. So when it says in the Hebrew Bible, it lets you know that the very first Bible was Hebrew. In the Hebrew Bible and Judaism, he who is I am that I am. And the Tetragrammaton, basically Yahweh. So they tell you Hebrew, which means I am who I am, who he who exists, are used as names of God, while Yahweh and Jehovah are sometimes used in Christianity. All right, so it tells you, we just read that the first Bible was the Hebrew Bible. All right, and in Hebrew, his name was I am that I am. That's what it just said. But then it tells you, but the name Yahweh and Jehovah are the names that they have turned I am that I am into for the Christianity religion. So the Christianity religion, they call him Yahweh or Jehovah versus calling him I am that I am. So write that down, because that's going to be key tonight. So we're gonna break down the word I am that I am in Hebrew, and that'll give you the true name of the Most High. Why? Because we just read two sources that the first language of the Bible was Hebrew, and then the first Bible was Hebrew. So now if you're going to break down I am that I am, you need to know what it means in Hebrew, and we will break that down. But like they said right here, Yahweh and Jehovah are the names that they use in Christianity. All the original things that were in Hebrew was changed to Christianity. And that's what this is what I'm going to show you tonight. All the original things that was originally Hebrew was changed over to Christianity. Let's go to Matthew 2 and 23. Let me show you how they took the Hebrew language and the Hebrew terms for things and changed them to their Greek terms and their Roman terms and made it Christianity. All right, let me show you how they did it. So now, living in our day and age in 2016, you don't see anything that pertains to Hebrews. Everything pertains to Christians and Catholics. So now when you have us out here talking about Hebrews, people are looking at us like, well, who are you and why and what are you talking about? Who told you that that's what that means? Who told you that? Who told you that Hebrew was the true language? Who told you that? So this is what you get. All right? This is what you get. Matthew 2 and 23. All right, hold on. They say I sound muffled on the line. Do I still sound muffled to you guys that are online? All right, y'all don't have to say. Go ahead. Say that again, Ak.
So you sound good.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So Matthew 2 and 23 reads, and he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets. He shall be called a Nazarene. So it says, talking about the Messiah, he dwelt in a city called Nazareth. And this is key. That it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene. So right here, it says he was in the city called Nazareth, talking about the Messiah. And it says, due through prophecy of the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene. The prophets. And the Old Testament says the Messiah was going to be called a Nazarene. The word Nazareth right there in the Easton Dictionary means separated. The word Nazareth coming from the Easton Dictionary means separated. Remember, we're breaking down tonight is called true religion. You got all these religions out here, and I'm going to break down what the one true religion is. So the word Nazareth means separated in the Easton Dictionary. Let's break down the word Nazarene. Nazarene is G3480. So let me show you their trickery. Let me show you how they do it and what they've done. The word Nazarene is G3480, and it means Nazarios, and it means Nazarene. By extension, a Christian. The word Nazarene, Greek 3480, a Nazarene, by extension, a Christian. What does the word extension mean? The word extension means something that was extended. Continuation. Extension means continuation. So, the word Nazarene in Greek is Christian. It's a continuation of something. So it was once called something. Now we're going to call it this as a continuation. All right. So like I said, over time, they have taken all the original things, which was Hebrew, and put it in the Greek terms and the Roman terms, which is Christians. Let me give you the Eastern definition for Christian. The Eastern definition for Christian is the name given by the Greeks or Romans. Let me read it again. We're talking about the word Christian. In the Eastern dictionary, the word Christian is the name given by the Greeks or Romans, probably in reproach to the followers of the Messiah. Let me read it again so y'all can understand what this is saying. Christian in the Eastern dictionary, the name given by the Greeks or the Romans, probably in reproach to the followers of the Messiah. So it tells you right here, the followers of the Messiah is talking about the disciples. So it says the Greeks and the Romans called them Christians in reproach. What does reproach mean? Shame, right? Just to sum it up, the word reproach means shame. So if the Greeks and Romans were calling the disciples Christians as reproach, as a shame, as a mockery, what does that mean then? That means they was not called Christians. They were being called Christians because they were being mocked. Go to Acts 11 and 26. Because so many people think Christ, the Messiah, was a Christian. And all the disciples that followed him were Christians. No, we just read right here the definition of Christians is a name that was given by the Greeks and the Romans in reproach to the disciples of the Messiah. And reproach means a shame. So it was like it was shaming them, talking down on them. Acts 11 and 26 reads, and when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. So the disciples did not get called Christians until they was in Antioch. That was the first time the disciples heard the word Christian. The very first time the disciples ever heard the word Christian was when they was in Antioch, because they was being mocked by the Greeks and Romans. So instead of the Greeks and Romans, when the disciples came into Antioch and the Greeks and Romans seen them, instead of the Greeks and Romans giving them respect and saying, hey, those are the followers of the Messiah. Those are the disciples. Those are his true followers. Those are Nazarenes. You remember? That's what we just read. Matthew 2 and 23 says, fulfilled by the prophets that he should be called a Nazarene. So instead of the Greeks and Romans calling them Nazarenes, they called them Christians as a reproach, as a shame. Ha, ha, ha. All right. And the disciples, they called themselves Nazarenes. They didn't call themselves Christians. The disciples themselves called themselves Nazarenes. And not only did they call themselves Nazarenes, they spoke Hebrew. Go to Acts 21 and 39. So we're going to break it all down just to show you in pieces how it was. But see, people don't know how to read the Bible. That's the problem. People don't know how to read the Bible. They don't know how to take the precepts and put precept upon precept, line upon line, and put it together. It's like a puzzle. The Bible is a puzzle. And if you don't have the true spirit and the true understanding, you will never put the puzzle together. You will be sitting there with all the puzzle pieces in front of you trying to figure out what are the corner pieces first. And you will never be able to figure it out. You have to have the true spirit to be able to put the precepts together to understand it all. So we already read where it says that the prophets had basically already said that the Messiah was going to be called a Nazarene. But they've taken the word Nazarene and extended it for the word Christians. And then when the disciples went into Antioch, the Romans and the Greeks mocked them by calling them Christians. You want to know how upset them the disciples was, the apostles was when they heard themselves being called Christians? That probably teed them off to the point to where they didn't want to have nothing to do with Antioch. But they know through the Spirit told them they had to go there and teach. Acts 21:39 reads, Acts 20:24-5. Did I say 24:5? Acts 24:5. Sorry about that, you guys. So the name that the disciples was given was Christians in Antioch. This name was given to them by the heathens. The heathens was calling them Christians. It was like a ridicule. We're laughing at you. We're laughing at you. The disciples, they never called themselves Christians. You will never find nowhere in the Bible where the disciples called themselves Christians. Acts 24:5 reads, "For we have found this man a pestilent fellow, and a mover of sedition among all the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes." So they were called Nazarenes also, just like the Messiah in Matthew 2:23, he shall be called the Nazarene. So it says that the Messiah should be called a Nazarene. And then right here it says that the apostles were called Nazarenes. And these Nazarenes spoke Hebrew. Acts 21:39. So now that we know in Matthew 2:23, spoken by the prophets, the Messiah should be called a Nazarene. And that the disciples were also called Nazarenes. That's what we just read in Acts 24:5. And we know the word Christian, and it is an extended word that was added on for the word what? Nazarene. So instead of them using the word Nazarene, they started using the word Christian. But like I said, these Nazarenes also spoke Hebrew. Acts 21:39 reads, "But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city of Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city. And I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people." So Paul was trying to speak to the people. Verse 40. "And when he had given him license, Paul stood on the stairs and beckoned with the hand unto the people. And when there was made a great silence, he spake unto them in Hebrew tongue, saying," So Paul, which was a disciple, which was a Nazarene, was speaking in Hebrew tongue. Speaking in Hebrew tongue, because Hebrew tongue was the tongue of the Bible. It's the same tongue that the Messiah was speaking in. So, two things cleared up. Hebrew tongue is important because it's showing you right here that the disciples are speaking in Hebrew tongue. And the Hebrew tongue Not only, but the disciples were called Nazarenes. They were calling themselves Nazarenes. The Messiah in Matthew 2 and 23 was said to be called a Nazarene. It never said, because if the Messiah, if we were Christians, it would have said right here in Matthew 2 and 23, right when the Messiah was brought here in the flesh, he shall be called a Christian. That's what it would have said right there. It would have said it right there. And then go back to Matthew 2 and 23. Let me show you something. This is how you can relate what's true or not. Because it says, and he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets. He shall be called a Nazarene. So if the prophets spoke about it, then what? Then that means you should be able to find it in the Old Testament. Is that what that means? That's what that means? If the prophets spoke about it, then that means you should say, well, if the prophet spoke about it, that means I can go find this in the Old Testament. So go show me and find somewhere in the Old Testament where it says Christian. You won't. You won't find the word Christian in the Old Testament because that's not what the prophets were speaking of. But I can show you in the Old Testament what the prophets were speaking of when it comes to a Nazarene. And that's what we're going to show you tonight. All right. Go to John 1 and 40. So like I said earlier, you see how they put everything in Christian terms, which is the Greek and Roman language. They put these things in the Greek and the Roman language, which is the Christian terms, to where people don't understand what's going on. Well, a Christian is the same as a Nazarene. No, it's not. All right, then. We'll take down the Christian religion and put up a Nazarene religion, and there's no longer a Christian religion. Let's see how happy everybody is then, since it's the same. No one's going to agree to it because it's not the same. Because when you follow the Christian religion, you're following the pagan gods that we were breaking down when we broke down the word religion and vow. That's what's happening. And that's why it's such a huge agenda for them to continue to flush so much money into these religions. The government pays so much money to keep these religions going through the religion schools. You got school now for religions. You got the churches. They put so much money in it to keep the lie going, to make everybody think that the world is Christians, and we're not. And the sad part about it is, when you pick up the original Bible, the Bible will never tell you that we're Christians. But through the doctrine of men, the whole world is dumbfounded that we are. So that goes to show you that the world we live in, everybody, majority of the people, 90% of the people has a lack of knowledge. Because it's right here. If they want to find the true information, all they got to do is just pick it up and read it themselves. But don't nobody want to read no more. John 1 and 40 reads, one of the two which heard John speak and follow him was Andrew, Simeon Peter's brother. He first findeth his own brother Simeon and said unto him, we have found the Messiah, which is being interpreted the Christ. So this is another way that they taken an original word and turned it into their Greek language for the Christian terms. So it said, they said, we have found the Messiah, which is being interpreted the Christ. Let's break down the word Christ. Christ is G5547. Christ is G5547, which is Christos, and it means anointed, that is the Messiah. So why does he need two names? Why does he need two names? Why does he need the Messiah and Christ? Why does he need both of them? Why couldn't they just stick with the Messiah? If they know if they know he was being called the Messiah, why didn't they just stick with that? Why did they say, hey, he's the Messiah, but we're going to change it and call him Christ? Why? To keep the confusion going, to keep you following after their religions and their gods, to keep you far from the truth. This is why they got to have two names, because it keeps you far away from following the truth. There's no reason that he needs to be called the Messiah or Christ. Call him one or the other. But tonight we're proving everything what he should be called. See, in the Old Testament, you'll never be able to find the word Christ. You just won't. You'll never ever be able to find the word Christ. But in the Old Testament, you'll be able to find the word Messiah. So that's how you break down which word is true or not. I can find the word Messiah in Daniel 9:25. That's what it says to call him. But I can't find the word Christ nowhere in the Old Testament. Christ is the Greek term for the Hebrew word Messiah, which is Mashiach. So this is the confusion they bring in. Go back to Google. So they keep you confused to keep following after their gods. Let me show you who their gods is. Go to Google and put in the word gods. Go to Google and put in the word gods. Y'all see all that? Those are their gods. And not only are those are their gods, those are all the gods that the world is following. These are all the gods, when you start putting all these religions together, who they're making their vows and their oaths to. So doing this is how their religions and their gods keep their power, by keeping everybody dumbfounded to worshiping these people. Instead of worshiping the true God of the Bible and worshiping the true religion of the Bible, people are worshiping man-made religions and man-made gods. So if it's not Hebrew, it's not right. Point blank. When you're breaking down these things, if it's not Hebrew, it's not right. Go to Numbers 6:1. So through the prophets, we read in Matthew 2:23, it says that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene. Let's break it down. Numbers 6:1. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Most High. So there goes the word vow. We already broke down the word vow means what? To make a promise. So it says, either a man or a woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Most High. The word Nazarite right there means separate. The word Nazarite in Hebrew is Nazar, and it means separate. Let me give you the Webster for the word separate. The Webster definition for the word separate, it means to disunite, to divide. All right? Either things naturally or casually joined. So anything that was joined. But the word separate means to divide. So you have to separate, divide yourself unto the Most High. That's what it means. You have to make a promise and separate yourself from this world unto the Most High. But who is the Most High? Because remember, we read, when you break down the word vow, it says promise made to God or by a pagan to his deity. So many people are making vows to their gods. So now you can't just be anybody that step up and like, okay, and read number 6 and say, all right, I read numbers 6 and 1, and I'm going to make this vow. I'm going to make a promise and separate myself to God. But to what God and to who? Who are you making that vow to? That's the important question. So you can't just say, all right, well, I'm a part of this religion. I'm a Christian or I'm a Muslim, and I'm going to make my vow or my promise to this God. You have, if you're going to do it, it's got to be to the right person. And this world, through their doctrines, is not teaching who the right person is. Let me show you who the right person is, so you can have the correct vow if you decide to make it. Go to Exodus 3 and 13. So remember, what are the two keys tonight? Can anybody answer them? What's one key tonight? Nazarene. And what's the other key? Hebrew tongue. So the two keys tonight is Nazarene and the Hebrew tongue. According to prophecy through the prophets, it says that the Messiah was going to be called the Nazarene. And then we went to a scripture where it says, shows you that the disciples were called Nazarenes. A Nazarene is a Nazarite, basically. So what we just broke down in Numbers 6 and 2, a vow of a Nazarite, that's a Nazarene. All right, that's what that is. So when you see that, so that's the two. So you remember when I said if you can't go find it in the Old Testament, then that means it has no power. Let me show you. Hold your spot in Exodus 3 and 13 and go back to Numbers 6 and 2. Let me show you something so you can see what I mean. Numbers 6 and 2 says, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, when either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite. Let me show you, let me give you the full breakdown of a Nazarite. Nazarite is H5139. H5139. And there's Nazar. And it means separate. And it means hence, unprune. And it says, is by a false, and this is how they lie to you, is by a false alliteration with Nazareth. But we know that's true. We know this is associated with Nazareth. Nazarite is associated with Nazareth, what we read in Matthew 2 and 23. But they try to tell you right here that it shouldn't be associated with Nazareth. Yes, it is. This is what Matthew 2 and 23 is reading of when it says that the prophet says he should be called Nazarene, which is a Nazarite. Someone who is separated. Someone who is separated from the world and has made a promise to the Most High. The Messiah, he did that better than anybody. He made a promise to the Father that yes, I'm gonna go down there and do your will, and I'm gonna separate myself from them. He was perfect. He was the author of that. Go back to Exodus 3 and 13. So a Nazarite is affiliated with Nazareth or Nazarene. So if I can find it in the Old Testament, then that means it has some clout. Exodus 3 and 13. So if you finally do decide to make your vow to separate yourself from this world, you say, okay, I want to separate myself from this world. I want to change. I want to make my vow to the Most High. I want to make my promise to the Most High. Who do you do it to? And remember, we already read sources tonight to where it says the three original languages of the Bible was Hebrew. All right, and we talked about how the Hebrew Bible, we broke down a few things tonight. So Hebrew is the key. Exodus 3 and 13 reads, and Moses said unto the Most High, behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, the power of your fathers has sent me unto you. And they shall say unto me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? And the Most High said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am sent me unto you. Verse 15. Exodus chapter 3, verse 15. And the Most High said moreover unto Moses, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, the power of your fathers, the power of Abraham, and the power of Isaac, and the power of Jacob, has sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. So he says, this is my name forever. What name? I am that I am. So he told Moses, my name is I am that I am. When Moses asked the Most High, what is your name? He says, my name is I am that I am, and this is my name forever. And when you break down the word I am that I am in Hebrew, remember, because in order for you to get the understanding of what I am that I am means, you got to break it down in Hebrew. And when you break down the word I am in Hebrew, it's Ahaya. And when you break down the word that, it's Ashar. So I am Ahaya, that Ashar. Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. That's the Most High's name. It's too easy. It's right here. But if you want to act ignorant and stay dumbfounded to these religions, then that's what you're going to do. But if you want to have an open ear and see clearly on what these scriptures are saying, it's right here for you. But you have to use the Hebrew tongue. You can't use the English tongue and say his name is I am that I am. No, you have to take the word I am that I am and break it down into the Hebrew tongue, which is an important language, and that's where you get Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. I am Ahaya, that Ashar, I am Ahaya. Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. In verse 15, he says, this is my name forever. But in this world we live in, you start getting a bad rep when you start separating yourself. So you got people at work, or you got cousins, you got friends, you got brothers, you got sisters. When they start seeing your change, or now you don't want to go out to the club. You usually be one of the first ones hitting everybody up, talking about, hey, let's go to the club tonight. And now all of a sudden, 6 months that went by, you don't want to go to the club no more. You don't wear makeup no more. You've changed. So now that you are trying to separate yourself from the world, you get a bad rep. People start talking bad about you. People start looking bad upon you, talking about you behind your back. Go to Luke 6 and 22. You start getting that bad rep, man, to where it becomes bad. And this is why a lot of people They can't make that separation because you live in a world that's full of evil. So the moment you try to pull yourself away from evil and start doing good, you get frowned upon. The moment you start trying to change from what the world originally does, you're looked at as an alien. See, the world has taught us the moment you see something that is not normal, then it's wrong. And see, in this world, through their schooling and through their religions, they have taught us a normalcy. What's the normalcy? They've taught everybody the same program. It's a program. That's why when you watch The Matrix, they're talking about these different programs. America has put a program on their people, and it's the same program. We all go to school, Head Start, kindergarten, first grade. It's a program. So everybody goes through this program. Elementary, junior high. Everybody graduates from junior high, 8th grade. Then you go to high school. Everybody graduates from high school. Now you go to college, get in debt. Now you try to find a job. It's a normalcy that what America has taught you. So America has taught us the moment you see somebody not doing that normalcy, oh no, something's wrong with them. They don't believe in our religions. They don't believe in our government no more. Something's wrong with that person. That's why something's wrong with Kaepernick. Kaepernick don't want to stand for the freaking flag, and it's the number one story on every news channel. It's the number one story on every sports channel. They don't got nothing else to talk about because Kaepernick says, I'm not going to do the normalcy today. I'm not going to stand up for the flag. And yes, I'm a professional athlete and I get paid and I'm on TV, but I'm not going to stand up. I'm not going to do the normalcy. And look what it's done. It's put the world into a panic. The world is in a major panic right now because of Kaepernick. We've got so many other things you could be worried about, and the world is in a panic right now. It's almost like it's going to start racism just over this because it's not normal. When you finally stand up to do something for yourself or do something that's not normal, you're now in a cult. Or what's wrong with them? It's crazy. Luke 6:22 reads, Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. So it tells you, once you change and start doing things different, people are going to separate themselves from you anyway. They don't want to be around you no more anyway. So now you ain't doing Christmas. Your family members don't want you around. Oh, you ain't doing Christmas? Oh, you telling people how bad Christmas is? I don't want you here. So they're going to start separating themselves from you anyway. So why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? What are you holding on for? You got so many people that know they should get away from this family member. Separate now. But you're holding on. And then eventually the family member separates themselves from you because they don't like your change. So what are we holding on to? People are going to hate you. You must separate yourself from the company of this world. If it's not right, if it's not truth, if it's evil, get away from it. Once you start speaking the truth everywhere you go anyway, people are not going to be around, want to be around you. I know there's places I go and I speak the truth, and you can see people after a while, they're like, man, I'm going to go over here. This is all this dude talking about. They don't want to hear it. Matthew 10:39, but I don't care. That's the thing. I don't care. Wherever I go, I'm going to speak what I know is right. Whether you want to hear it or not. Because that's my job. I was put here on this earth to speak. Matthew 10:39 reads, He that findeth his life shall lose it. And he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. So it's basically saying, he that findeth life on the external, which is flesh, which is comfort and pleasure, shall lose the eternal life, which is salvation, which is the spiritual joy. Let me say it again. He that findeth life, which is external, which is flesh. So someone that cares about their flesh, someone that cares about their comfort and their pleasure in the flesh, you will lose your eternal life, which is salvation, which is the spiritual joy. Let me read it again. Matthew 10 and 39. He that findeth his life shall lose it. And he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. So we need to lose this life for the sake of the Messiah. And once you lose this life, which is the flesh, then you shall find the spiritual life, which is salvation. But you got to lose this life first. You gotta lose this fleshly life. How do you lose the fleshly life and not care about the comfort and the pleasures of the flesh? Separate yourself. You have to separate yourself from the flesh. And that's how you got to look at it. Okay, I'm going to lose this fleshly life to gain salvation. But once you separate yourself from the flesh, you're going to suffer some things. You're going to have to suffer a lot of things that this world offers. That's what it is. All right, I'm going to separate myself from the flesh. I'm going to give up this life. That means you're going to suffer all the things that this fleshly world has to offer. So now, once you get that up, now you ain't going to be able to enjoy the flesh like everybody else does. See, everybody else, they enjoy the flesh because America's put so much here for the flesh. Materialistic things. You got concerts, you got clubs, you got this, you got that. So people are so happy with the flesh because they got so much to do. But if you want salvation, you got to get rid of that. You got to get rid of that life, separate yourself from that life, and pay attention to the spirit. And that's the separation. That's where the separation comes in at. And then that's where the vow comes in at, because you make a vow to the Most High and say, hey, I don't care about that world. I don't care about the life. Mark 8:35. But we're talking about the true religion. So now that we're kind of in the meat and potatoes, what's the true religion? A Nazarene or a Nazarite. So if you had to tell somebody you had a religion, you tell somebody you're a Nazarite or you're a Nazarene. And you stick with it. That's your separation. And you make a vow and tell the Most High, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. Mark 8:35. And it reads, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's, the same shall save it. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? So what profit is it that if you in the flesh, you live in this flesh and you gain all these things in the flesh? You got all these things going for you in the flesh. You didn't conquer the whole world. But in the conquering of this world, you lost your soul. It's not that important. It's time to give up the flesh. Verse 37. Mark 8:37. Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? That's the question. Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? So you have to exchange that flesh for your soul. Let me Let me give you the definition for exchange. Exchange. To give one thing or commodity for another. That's what exchange means. So to give one thing for another. So if you want eternal life, which is salvation, you have to give up the external life. You have to exchange the external life for the internal life. I hope I'm making sense here. I hope this is clear. If you want salvation, you have to exchange the external life, give it up. And once you give it up, you separate yourself from this world and give up the external for the internal. Let me read it again. Mark 8:37. Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? That's the only thing a man can exchange for his soul is the flesh. So you must separate yourself from the flesh. You must separate the flesh from the spirit. That's what you got to do. And once you separate the flesh from the spirit, now you are exchanging the flesh for the spirit. Now you're saying, all right, Ahaya, the Most High, I want to give this life, which is the flesh, the world I'm living in. I want to give that up. I want to lose this life and wait for the next life. Even though the next life is not here yet, I'm going to give this life up, which is the flesh, which has all these gadgets, technology, all these things going on in it. I don't want that. I'm going to give that up. I'm going to suffer. I'm going to suffer while I'm in the flesh. Because right now I have all these things in front of me. I can't see that next life. So I'm going to suffer by giving these things up. And keep faith that the life that I'm exchanging for the future is going to be better than this. That's my faith. My faith is that my exchange that I can't even see yet is going to be better than it. And see, and a lot of people, they can't see the future life, which is the spiritual life. So they're not going to exchange nothing. They're not going to give up nothing. I'm not going to give up this technology world, this flesh world, this materialistic world for a world that I can't even see yet. So that's where a lot of people are stuck at. I'm not going to give up nothing. That's why only a third of the people will be saved. Because only a third of the people will say, hey, you know what? I can give this life up. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, I know what it has, but I can give it up. And I can wait patiently for the life to come. If you're someone that has to, every morning you get up, if you ain't at work, you got to be out and about. You got to be at stores. You got to be at a friend's house. You got to be here. You got to be that. This is going to be a rough journey for you. If you're somebody that you just got to be out every day, every chance you get, you got to be out doing stuff. It's going to be a rough journey. If you can't sit at home and just be at home, they don't got to be a reason. Well, I'm at home because I don't got no gas. No, I'm at home because I want to be at home. And guess what? I'm having fun while I'm here. I'm chilling. I don't got to be out there like that. Once you can start living life like that, then you know you're kind of on your way, because now you don't need that world that much. You don't have to be out there. It's not killing you that you got to be out and about doing something. So that's a key scripture, Mark 8:37. What man will give it? What shall a man give in exchange for his soul? So like I said, you must separate the flesh from the spirit. What does separate mean? Divide. So you got to divide the two. They can't be the same. Got to divide the two. Go back to Numbers 6 and 3. We got about 10 minutes left. So you have to divide the flesh. The flesh is on the left. The spirit is on the right. That's the division. Why? Why is the flesh on the left? Because anything on the left stays left, and that's where you go. On the right, spirit, paradise, salvation. That's how we do it. Numbers 6:3, and it reads, "He shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drink. Neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dry. All the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree, from the kernels even to the husk." All right. So I'm not going to go completely all the way into it. I've done a lesson that's called the Nazarite Journey. Is it on YouTube, you guys? It is, right? Okay. So I have a lesson on the YouTube page called the Nazarite Journey, to where if you want to learn about what Numbers 6 is talking about, I broke Numbers chapter 6 all the way down in that lesson. I'm not going to do it tonight because we don't have time. But if you want to know what a Nazarite is, it's a journey. A Nazarite, what number 6 is speaking of, is talking about a Nazarite journey, to where if you want to become a Nazarite, you had to make a promise to the Most High, and you had to separate yourself to the Most High. And it gave you a format on how you could separate yourself from the Most High. And through that separation, you wasn't to drink no strong drink. The whole Numbers chapter 6 tells you what you couldn't do when you was on that separation. Okay? But we're not going to read the whole thing tonight. Go to James 1:26. Tonight, I just wanted to show you that there is one true religion. And like I say, as Hebrew Israelites, we have woken up to the truth. And every time someone asks, what religion are you a part of? We tell them there's no religion. We just follow the Bible. That's not true. That's not true. Because according to the scriptures, the one religion we are a part of is the Nazarite or Nazarenes. But once the Greeks and the Romans took over, what they do? They use their tongue, they change it to their term, and that's where you get the word Christians from. And Nazarene or Nazarite has never been looked back up. Actually, you know what? You can go throughout. Huh? It's not on there? I'll make sure I put it on there tonight. You have some churches that are called, I've seen some churches called Nazarenes of Christ or Nazareth of Christ. So actually, I've seen many churches that's called Nazarenes of Christ or Nazarites of Christ or Nazareth of Christ. So you got some people out there that kind of know, but they don't know. James 1:26 reads, "If any man among you seem to be religious, and bridleth not his tongue," bridleth means like control or curve, he don't know how to control his tongue, and bridleth not his tongue, but deceive his own heart, this man's religion is vain. Pure religion and undefiled before the Most High and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their afflictions, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. So it tells you that the pure religion, there is a pure religion, which is what we're talking about tonight, which is a Nazarene or a Nazarite. What is a Nazarite? What is a Nazarene? Someone who has separated themselves from what? The world. and someone who has made a vow to the Most High. They made a vow to the Most High, and they have separated themselves from the world. And James 1:27 says, pure religion. What does the word pure mean? Let's break down the word pure. Pure from the Webster definition means separate from all heterogeneous matters. Clear. So pure means separating yourself from something also. You're separating yourself from a mixture. That's basically what it is. So if I want to be pure, I'm not going to mix these three things together. Because the moment I mix this and mix this, it's no longer clear. It's no longer pure. So like if I got water and put it in a cup, the water's clear. It's in the cup by itself. It's pure. It's pure. But if I got water and put hot sauce in there and put some orange juice in there, now it's no longer clear. So now it's not pure. So the same thing with us. Pure is something that's not mixed. And being in this world, you're mixed with many different things. So it's not pure. So that's why the Most High says, separate yourself from the mixtures of this world to where you can become pure. James 1:27 says, pure religion and undefiled before the Most High and the Father is this. So what is it? So he's going to tell us what the pure religion is. The pure religion is them that visit the fatherless and the widows in their afflictions, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. So the pure religion, the religion we're talking about, which is Nazarite or Nazarene, separate, is someone who keeps themselves from the world. Separate, divided from the world. Mixture. Pure means something that's not mixed. So being away from this world means you're not mixed with the world. The moment you separate yourself from the world, now you're pure and you're separated, which is Nazarite or Nazarene. But if you're part of the world, unpure, now you are Christian religion. Because religions, Christians, Muslims, Catholic, all these things, they bring in things that are confusing. They bring in things that are man-made. But once you separate yourselves from those religions, now follow the pure religion, which is a Nazarite or Nazarene, which is a separation. That's all the word Nazarite or Nazarene means. Separation. You're just separating yourself from the world. And then through that separation, you have made a vow, which is a promise to the Most High. And when you read number 6, it tells you that promise that you're going to make. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to do this. But everybody can't do it. Everybody can't separate themselves like that. So that's why you're only going to have a third of this place that's going to survive. You have 4 people in the Bible who was called Nazarites. And that's on that lesson that I was just talking about. You have 4 people from the Bible who was called Nazarites because of what they did according to number 6. Anybody know? You had Samson. You had Samuel. You had John the Baptist and the Messiah. Those 4 individuals were actually called Nazarites. when you read the Bible. Even though we already broke down to where the apostles were what being called Nazarenes. But I'm talking about actual individuals who had the title of a Nazarite. Samson, Samuel, John the Baptist, and the Messiah. But just because other people in the scriptures didn't have the actual title doesn't mean they wasn't Nazarites. Because there's many stories in the Old Testament talking about the Nazarites. There's many stories in the Apocrypha talking about the Nazarites, on how the Nazarites did it. So that right there is your true religion. If you say, hey, I don't have a religion, then you just didn't know no better. Okay? So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, if you didn't know this information, you've been taught wrong. No, you just didn't know. And that's why we continue to study, and that's why we continue to teach, to show people things that they don't get. That's why the Bible says iron sharpens iron. We all continue to read, we all continue to do things to help each other see something that the other one probably didn't see at one point in time. All right. So hopefully through this information, it makes a little more sense. And hopefully through this information, people get a better understanding on why we call ourselves Nazarite without walls. And honestly, we didn't start calling ourselves Nazarite without walls because I was like, oh yeah, I found our true religion. No, we started calling ourselves Nazarite without walls because of the Nazarite journey we took. But then just over the years and over time, you start realizing like, hey, this was actually a religion. A Nazarite or a Nazarene, this was actually a religion. And like I say, all praises to the Most High for showing and giving us the spirit to understand this. So with that in mind, we're right on time to close it out. Like I say, they say the Nazarite without journey lesson. I thought I put it up. I think something was wrong with it, but I'm gonna go ahead and I think my voice wasn't matching the videos. I was getting my kung fu on, my Chinese, but I'm gonna put it on anyway, so people can at least follow it and see what it is that I'm talking about when I'm talking about the Nazarite journey. All right. So like I said, hopefully with that in mind, people can see where I'm coming from when I say the one true religion. If we did have to claim a religion, it should be a Nazarite or a Nazarene, because in the Old Testament, it breaks down on how to make a vow towards the Most High as a Nazarite. That's the only vow. And when you find the word vow, which is making a promise, that's like your religion. And that's the only word in the Old Testament that breaks it down like that for us. And then even in the New Testament, when it talks about the Messiah, it says, due to the scriptures of the prophets, they said he should be called a Nazarene. And then the followers of the Messiah was called Nazarenes. That was being mocked by being called Christians. And for new ears that are hearing this, I know this is a lot of information for new ears because you like, what is he talking about? But just take your time with it, step by step, and just ask questions, and it'll start making sense. So with that in mind, I'll say Shalom. All praises to the Most High, and let's pray it out.